So on Monday, the first thing that I looked at was making the split down the back of the top that I talked about doing on Friday, to make it easier to get on and off. So to do that, I first of all took the poppers off the elastic where I had originally placed them, sewed the elastic back up, and then sewed the poppers at the top of the top and just before the bottom. And because of that, it made it a lot smoother to take it on and off, which will hopefully make the change a lot easier because it was very difficult to get over the head and in the arms at the same time. And this way, the actor can just go straight in, which is a lot more helpful than what I previously had. I then started looking at making a headpiece for the UFO dress, and I looked at doing this in the same material as I'd used for the rest of it, just so that it's all cohesive and very shiny. And I thought about the shape of the headpieces that we looked at creating in a past project of Shrek, where we looked at making hats for that fit quite snugly to the actors' heads. And I thought about that round shape where it sort of tapered in at the end so it fit onto the head better, and I used that as the basis for the shape of pattern for the hat for this. So I cut that two pieces like that out and a strip to go down the middle just to give it more of a 3D shape. Once I'd done that, I tried it on someone's head to see how it looked on someone's head, how the fit was, if it was an appropriate shape, because I had made the shape myself and I wasn't sure how accurate it would be. And so I checked that and it was a bit long, so I cut a bit off the bottom. Then I tried it on their head again and it looked like it needed quite a bit more because it was just like a bald cap, essentially, a shiny bald cap, which wasn't really what I was going for. I wanted more of the spaceship UFO kind of feeling. So I decided to add a brim, almost like a bucket hat, around the middle of the hat, like that. When I first attached this as just a round piece that I cut out, I attached it too low and it looked just like hair, really, and I didn't feel it was really giving the effect of the spaceship that I wanted it to. So then I moved the top bits up slightly, so I picked part of the side and lifted it to make it look less like the bottom of hair. It was looking a bit like Lego hair, and that also wasn't what I wanted. And I did that, and I tried it on someone's head again to see where it looked in terms of the face and everything. And I found that it looked more like a knight's helmet than the UFO, really, which again wasn't quite what I was after. Um, and then I asked for some of the opinions in the room of what they thought might help it look less like a knight's helmet, and it was adding a brim to the top. So I tried doing that. I added an extra piece, sewed it to the side, sewed round the top, sewed it to the side again, and I think it made it a lot better. It was much more similar to how the skirt was, and I think because it echoed that, it made more sense with the dress as a whole, and added to the outfit rather than looking a bit odd as it had been doing. Something I also did to the hat was I top stitched my seams going up the sides of to keep it flatter, which I first did with the skirt because I found that this actually really helps with the shape of the fabric because, well, not fabric, material, because the material is so stiff, but also it's very set in its ways. If you manipulate it in one way, that's where it will stay. So having that extra line of stitching really makes it strongly in that shape, which is very helpful. It really flattens things out, because if the excess material on the seam which you need, if that's there, it warps it a little bit, and flattening them out and sewing them down really eliminates that factor completely. Once I'd completed the base of the hat, I added some elastic to the bottom just to keep it on the head, and I also added some more of the buttons which I have on both the top and the skirt just to make it all feel more like one piece. I also added some antenna, as when looking at pictures of UFOs, I'd seen this quite a lot. I felt like it was quite a recognizable part of a UFO from my visual research, so I put that on. I'm not sure if I'll keep it because it's not particularly stable, but I'll see how it goes for now and make a more informed decision later on down the line. And then on Tuesday, I looked at putting together character outfits from what I already had, what had already been sourced, and what was in the costume room, and putting them all on one hanger each for each character, or if the double cast weren't sharing a costume, on two separate hangers. So the ones I looked at were Michael, where I found his red t-shirt and beige trousers. I'm still looking for a long sleeve, a suitable coloured long sleeve. I also looked at Lucas, where I made two because they are double cast, with a yellow t-shirt and a green overshirt and some brown cord trousers. I looked at Leia and Samantha. Uh, I wanted both of them to have pink elements, so I found that I did think they needed to be all in pink. That's just Elaine, because she's the only one where that is mentioned in the script. But because they're one unit, I think it's good for them all to have some element of the same thing. Those were the main ones I got through today. I put a couple of other pieces together for ensemble, but I don't know yet who's a geek and who's a jock, so I'll have to wait to hear from the director on that one. And I was doing this to help me know what I have, who is done, and just be able to access it really easily. It'll be helpful for me, especially later on down the line, or if I'm getting them in to check how things fit. I can just hang them in the hanger and have everything on there, and it's much easier to keep a catalogue of what is done when I've had that visual, physical representation of it, rather than just going, I've got these three pieces, they're for one person, I put them together, and then they're together, that's it. And that makes it a lot easier for me to keep going with it, which is really helpful. And so I'll try and get that done for as many characters possible by the end of this week.